Welcome to 4x4 Australia Magazine's 4x4 of the Year test. As always, we're starting our test here at Werribee at the four-wheel drive proving ground. This is a specialised course where we can put the cars side by side up and down the same hills, through water crossings, side slopes, through mud, all the sort of things you might find out in the outback or in the bush. We're going to get out there later on, but first we'll put them all to the test here.
It's a sort of pinnacle of the magazine. We do obviously road testing all year round. We only pick the best of the new things for each year. You know, it's right up there. And there's nothing more important in terms of a road test for us.
4x4 of the year, we pick the best or most significant vehicles throughout the year. We make choices, what's good, what works, what doesn't, and pull together a bunch of our old judges and editors and mates and come and drive them out in the bush for a few days to judge them against the set criteria.
Back out here in the outback, having a great time, travelling with some good friends and testing some good cars, you know, and in a variety of conditions.
I always find it interesting in the fact that we don't compare the vehicles with each other, and people, you know, find it really hard to get their heads around that. By comparing them against the set criteria, it's the only award of its type in the country that goes to such an effort to find out, you know, what vehicle really is deserving of that award.
Been around for a long time now, and the manufacturers seem to like it. They use it in advertising after, and they're also very thankful when they win it, of course. And yeah, the industry and the readers love it as well. There's always a few people arguing about the decision, but that's always good too, to build that community spirit. For me, it's like a really good award for manufacturers, obviously. Like, it's the new release vehicle that year, and I think to win it, you have to be pretty good in your own sort of market segment. So the vehicle has to be a good all-rounder and, you know, meet those criteria quite well against others in that same market.
Here we have the 8 finalist vehicles for 4x4 of the year, plus the highlights from our sponsors Tough Dog. We had a great drive in yesterday afternoon from Ivanhoe, across the red sandy track here to the lakes at Menindee. It was raining, pouring wet, tacky track, a lot of fun. Nothing like an outback road trip to put our 4-wheel drive of the year finalists to the test.
This is a SsangYong Rexton. There's two important things to know about this car. Firstly, it's a completely different vehicle from the SsangYong Rexton that was previously imported. The other thing is that SsangYong now set up in Australia as their own distributorship, whereas previously SsangYong were bought in by a third-party distributor. And the fact that SsangYong are here in their own right should give the car more longevity and certainty if you're going to buy one. The car itself, 2.2 litre 4-cylinder diesel, 7-speed automatic made by Mercedes-Benz. It is a separate chassis 4-wheel drive, but it has fully independent suspension, which makes it a bit unusual.
I remember the original Rexton, and this one's a big step up from that. Fully independent suspension. The advantage of that is, I mean, there's several advantages, but you can really feel it on the road. It corners, you know, quite flat. It doesn't have a lot of body roll. Feels a little bit more car-like than some of the other contenders here. Nice engine, nice transmission, very smooth transmission. As the roads get rougher and bumpier, however, it feels a bit undersprung and underdamped as well, both on the compression and the rebound. It's sort of, you go over some big dips in the road and it sort of gets a bit floaty and up and down. But again, you know, it's pretty good value for money. 7-seat wagon. The third row seats aren't the best, but the second row's got plenty of room in there.
SsangYong, a good family car, a new model for Australia. SsangYong's just come back to the country, so it's a 7-seat family vehicle, nice refined 4-cylinder turbo diesel engine, good little auto, gets along all right. Probably a bit out of its depth on some of these roads out here. It feels like it wouldn't last a long time out here. It proved quite capable, but not astounding. On the set-piece hill climbs, it didn't make it up them. Its traction control system has got some poor calibrations, and yeah, just didn't get past square one there. But yeah, it tours quite nicely. It does tour quite well. Just yeah, it needs a bit more momentum.
It's a second generation Rexton. Bit unusual in this company, it's got fully independent suspension, whereas all the rest has got a live axle at the back. It's a very nice and affordable road family car with modest off-road ability. Unfortunately, it's the least off-road capable of what we've got here. It will do a lot of stuff that most people want, but it's not a hardcore off-roader. But for the price of the equipment, you know, it drives on road really nicely. The powertrain's great. 7-speed Mercedes-Benz gearbox, would you believe? Engine's got plenty of power. It's quiet, refined, rides okay.
Yeah, it's really nice. The styling is a bit divisive again, not as much as the Mahindra of course, but it's well finished, it's very nice on road. It's all independent suspension on a live chassis, so it's a bit different. So the wheel travel off-road is not the best, but when you're doing lots of highway miles between destinations to campsites and things like that, it's a very comfy drive.
I think it's a pretty well packaged vehicle, but it's hardly outstanding in any way. And I guess I felt that it done everything reasonably well, but you know, it's hardly an exciting vehicle to drive, that's for sure.
We're in the Ford Ranger here, XLT spec with a few options on this one. It's got leather and it's got a tech pack which brings in the autonomous braking and the radar cruise control. 3 Fords in this 4x4 of the year. They've all got the new powertrain. The powertrains are identical. 10-speed automatic, 2-litre bi-turbo diesel. So the little turbo which gets the engine off idle and the bigger turbo it takes over at highway speeds. Otherwise it's pretty well standard Ranger like we've always had. The new engine doesn't change the towing capacity or the weight carrying capacity, even though it's a lot smaller. The Ranger's been one of our favourite utes for a long time, and this new engine brings a new dynamic to the whole car.
The Ford Ranger XLT, the one we have here, has the technology pack. That essentially means it gets lane keep assist and all that sort of stuff, adaptive cruise control and those sorts of features. The Ranger now is the only dual cab ute on the market other than the SClass that has automatic emergency braking, AEB. It's comfortable on the road and effective off the road. When you engage the rear diff lock, your traction control still works on the front axle. So it's almost as good as having 2 lockers, but not quite, but it's a very effective off-road thing as well.
The cheapest of the 3 Fords we've got is the Ranger. The Ranger XLT, it's got a couple of options on it. It's got leather and a bit of extra safety kit, so it's more expensive than the Volkswagen. It's a Ranger we've sort of had and enjoyed for a long time, but the powertrain is new, so it's an alternate to the 3.25 cylinder, 6-speed gearbox. That's still available, so it's an option. I think Ford's got hedging their bets with it.
I was a little bit apprehensive about the 2-litre engine. I like the bigger engine. I like the Ford Ranger with the 3.2, and I wondered how it would measure up against that engine. But it doesn't give away anything, and it's a lot quieter, more refined engine, and it seems to go really well. And yeah, I like it a lot. I'm surprised I like it so much, in fact.
Yeah, the Ranger XLT is brilliant. I reckon it's a great all-rounder in terms of a dual cab ute, and as an option for a family wagon to go anywhere around Australia. And off-road, it's a real surprise packet. Like, it's still got the leaf springs at the rear and road bias tyres. We've got up every single obstacle we took it up quite easily.
Heading from the lake at Menindee up to Dunedin Station, we had to go via Wilcannia for fuel. But we didn't account for the extra 600 kilos in the back of the Hilux, and we were able to prove you could travel 90 kilometres when the gauge says you've only got 20 kilometres of fuel in the car.
The Volkswagen Amarok Core. Core is the new base spec model in this range. You lose a bit of equipment over the Sportline. Some of the 12-volt outlets in the front here and the tray. It's got 17-inch wheels rather than 18-inch wheels. It's got rubber floor mats rather than carpet. So in a lot of ways it's a much more practical vehicle from a four-wheel drive point of view. Otherwise, 3-litre V6 turbo diesel, 550 Newton metres of torque, 165 kilowatts, 180 on overboost, so it puts your foot down and goes like hell. Full-time four-wheel drive, 8-speed automatic. It's a great thing to drive.
Mechanically, the Amarok we have here is the same as the Ultimate that we had in a previous 4x4 of the year test, but this thing, I think it's 50 odd grand. It's pretty good value for money for that V6 turbo diesel engine, which punches out, you know, amazing power and torque figures, and you put your boot into it and the thing just goes.
It's basic, it's got vinyl floors inside, they've stripped out a lot of the features, it's got no climate control, pulled out some little accessory plugs and things like that don't really matter so much, but it's still got all that performance. It goes anywhere the cars have got low range do without low range. It's a very good option.
It actually goes a lot stronger than what you'd expect for the numbers. I mean, it's almost, you know, in four-wheel drive and ute terms, it's almost got sports car performance. It's really easy to drive, there's no low range, doesn't need it. It's always in full-time, always in four-wheel drive, it's got full-time four-wheel drive. The centre diff locks automatically, so you'll be whizzing down the freeway at 110, drive off up a gnarly track, not touch a button and does it all. I mean, it's, in terms of that cleverness, it's like it's been designed on a whole different planet compared to the rest of them.
Off-road, it continues to surprise even our oldest and most crusty judges in this panel, so it's doing a good job there.
But that vehicle does everything you want it to do, and we've had it in some fairly gnarly country, and it comes through fine. If there's any criticism about it, I guess, you know, its ground clearance isn't great, but you can fit a set of bigger tyres underneath it pretty well.
We're driving Ford Everest here. This is one of 3 Fords in this year's 4x4 of the year. It's here because it's got a whole new powertrain. 2-litre bi-turbo diesel, backed by 10-speed automatic. Otherwise, it's pretty well the Everest we've had for a few years. It's based on the Ranger Ute. The big difference between the two is, unlike the Ranger, which has got leaf springs at the back, this has got a coil sprung rear, which sort of gives it a bit softer ride, and it's, you know, better use for, you know, normal passenger use, because it doesn't have to carry the weight that a Ranger does. Everest has won 4x4 of the year before. We'll see how it goes this year.
The Everest is the wagon version of the Ranger pretty much, and the spec we have here is a mid-spec trend. The packaging's really nice, it's got a nice dash design. It feels like a really nice car to be in. And it's got a multi-mode selector kind of thing, so you can pick how you'd like the engine and transmission to respond when you're in on-road, or when you're in sand, or when you're driving over mud ruts and rocks and all that sort of thing. And it's pretty effective. It's a very nice car.
Trend is super comfortable and quiet and refined. I mean, it's the nicest car to drive here in general driving. And that engine suits the persona of the Everest really well, because being a sort of family wagon, refinement's big, and that new engine, the 2-litre engine and 10-speed, bring refinement in spades compared to the 3.2. So the persona of the engine suits the Everest really well. And I think it probably does its best job in the Everest here.
Been our 4-wheel drive of the year a few years ago in 3.2-litre 6-speed auto form, so it's still very capable. It's got a rear diff lock that goes on, and then the traction control stays engaged when the locker's on, so it's very capable up in hill climbs. It's a good touring car, lots of luggage space in the back and a decent load capacity for chucking all your gear in and all the kids and everything else, so I reckon it still does a really good job.
Yeah, it does everything really well. It hardly grabs me though, it just lacks something, I think, lacks charisma, off-road charisma.
It's the HSV Colorado Sports Cat Plus. The plus bit means it gets big calipers on the front, a 4-spot calipers, big disc on the front. Also gets an automatically decoupling rear sway bar. When you put in low range, it decouples. Otherwise, it's the same as the normal Sports Cat, which means bigger wheels and tyres, raised suspension at the front, different springs at the front, different dampers all around. And cleverly, HSV's engineers have retweaked the strut mounts at the front to stabilise the rear suspension so you don't get so much flex. So what they've tried to do is build a ute that handles better on road but is also better off-road.
Again, another new vehicle adapted from something else, which is the Holden Colorado. Holden Special Vehicles has waved its performance wand over it and gone to town with the suspension for the most part, and the brake package. It's much stiffer in the handling, corners flatter, rides firmer, bigger wheels and tyres, reinforced chassis suspension up the front. Yeah, it looks really good. It's got a pretty tough looking style package on it. Not really what HSV is known for, but they've made a pretty good effort with it.
It's a bit of a harsh kind of engine. It's a bit noisier than some of the others. In this sports cat form, it seems even noisier again. It's got these wide 285 tyres that make a lot of road rumble, and you combine that with a lack of MVH control and the coarse engine, and you're driving on the highway, and she's a pretty noisy old package.
There's some serious re-engineering underneath. Some of it's what you could do at an aftermarket shop, but they've done stuff that you need proper engineering to do.
The HSV Sports Cat is a Colorado that's pushing towards the Ranger Raptor space, I dare say, to a certain degree. When you first get in the car, the seating's firm and it feels a bit just like a normal Colorado. When you get it off-road on those long distance corrugated dirt roads, it really comes into its own. I think they've done a pretty good job. It would have been nice to have a bit of engine tweaking done to it from HSV perhaps, and the interior noise is quite loud with that engine, so a bit of sound deadening would have been nice as well, but it's still pretty good.
I was looking forward to driving it, but I don't think it's worth the money, to be quite honest.
This is a Ford Ranger Raptor. This is the hero model in Ford's lineup now. Basically what it is a Ranger with a completely revised underpinnings. At the back you've got coil springs rather than loose springs, but disc brakes in the back rather than drum brakes. It's been raised up. Track's been wider at both ends, not just by wheel offset, they widen the track by different A-arms at the front, different axle at the back. Watch linkage suspension like the Everest. Powertrain's the same as the new powertrain in Ranger and Everest. So what it is, it's a chassis car, it's not an engine car.
A lot of people expect, they're saying, well, where's the V8? I think they've done a good job putting that 2-litre bi-turbo engine in there. It's not fantastic performance-wise, but the money they've spent on it, they've spent on suspension. And they've done a hell of a job. The thing is so compliant. You can hammer it over rough roads and it just rides beautifully.
Top of the line in terms of price in the four-wheel drive ute sector, but yeah, it's a really great looking thing.
It's the toughest looking car here by a country mile. It's really well engineered. They've done some serious changes with it. And out of the showroom, you can drive that straight out of the showroom on a gnarly four-wheel drive track, and you're not going to break it, and it's going to go really well.
When we do this test, we always test against criteria against other vehicles in that same market. The Raptor's really created its own segment of the market now because it's a genuine off-road, not racer, but it's been designed that way to sort of replicate the forerunners in the US and those Baja 1000 races and things like that. So it's all about the suspension with the Raptor. Bigger tyres, really nice Fox suspension. It's very smooth and compliant on and off-road. It's quite highly priced though. That's going to put a few people off, I think. But if you were going away for a trip around Australia, not knowing what sort of roads and conditions you were going to be driving on, it's not a bad thing to look at.
I guess from a touring point of view, its payload's down a little bit, its towing capability's down a little bit. So if you're looking to tow a 20-foot van, you might want to look at the Raptor. But the thing I like about it is the note from the engine. Now they tell me that it's computer generated. Oh my God.
That's right, Ron, times sure have changed. We've had our fun on the sand dunes at Dunedin and we're heading up the road to Tilpa. Lovely hotel there, but once again we've got to stop in Wilcannia for fuel. We're out here on 4x4 of the year testing for 2018. We're taking a break in very hot, dry Western New South Wales. It's a pretty sad state of affairs out here, so we're just taking a bit of break in the shade for a while. Once again, we'd like to take the time to thank our supporters at Tough Dog Suspension. Been with us for 5 years now, and we've got the top dog of Tough Dog here himself, Mr. John Agostino. Welcome along, mate. Good to have you always.
Thank you, Matt.
Mate, it's been a big year for Tough Dog as well as us.
It has.
Tell us about some of the changes there.
Well, we've built a new purpose-built factory, 5,000 square metres. It's just been a fantastic way to increase our business. There's a new R&D section in it, and it's allowed us to employ more people to service the needs of the business as it grows.
That to me has always been one of the strengths of Tough Dog, is your R&D, the work that you guys put into it behind the scenes to create a good product. Have you increased that team and given them some more space?
Yes, we have. They've got 3 hoists, and they've got a dyno room and their own offices and all the equipment that's required. Simon Vella leads that team and a couple of other guys to assist him, and we're able to get products out on time and hopefully to market before the competitors.
That's good. Yeah, we know Simon pretty well. He's been out on here with us a couple of times before. Tell me, what does it mean for Tough Dog to be a part of our 4x4 of the Year testing?
Well, 4x4 of the Year is a prestigious event, and Tough Dog is very, very proud. And as you said, it's been 5 years that we've been able to come and join you in the outback and do some real live testing with our products, and also see some of the new crops of vehicle on the marketplace and just see where they're going.
Yeah, who knows what ones of these cars we'll be seeing Tough Dog products in the future.
Look, I think most of them already have got something going for it, or not too far away before we have something for them.
So this year you brought along the Hilux, and we've got a great big box of weight in the back of it.
We have.
Tell us about what's special about this one.
Well, what we've decided is to market a range of airbags to supplement the suspension that we have, and ultimately, you know, the tradie wants to buy a vehicle, and the Ute is these days probably one of the best selling vehicles on the marketplace, and he wants to go to work on Monday to Friday, and then on the weekend wants to take his family away, and you know the load is different, and we need to be able to let the guy have a good ride when he's got his family on board, and also do the job during the week.
So he just drops the air out of there when he wants a soft ride with the family, pumps it up when he's got the toolbox or the load of rocks in the back.
That's exactly the whole principle, is we can give him a comfort spring to give him a good quality ride when he's empty, and the airbag on top of that to be able to carry the load when he's loaded up.
You mentioned your comfort springs there. I remember last year we had the Ranger along with the comfort springs in it.
That's
Man, that was a fantastic car. I really loved the supple, smooth ride of that truck. It was, you know, not everyone wants to carry, you know, a tonne in the back or 3.5 tonnes. The ride in that Ranger was superb. So, yeah, this is very similar, and well controlled too.
Yeah, look, that's correct. The shock absorbers that are tuned to suspension, of course, and you know, we have 3 different types of springs that we would normally put, but of course you don't want a constant 500 kilo spring on a vehicle that is going to carry the family on the weekend.
That's exciting stuff to be seeing the range expanding.
Yeah, look, it is exciting for us, and that's only one of many products that we got chalked up for the next 12 months.
Well, something else we've seen recently is you've gone into the recovery gear market now.
We have. Look, recovery gear, we understand that there's a lot of it out in the marketplace, but we export to 42 countries, and so many of our resellers kept on saying to us, give us something else to sell. So we've expanded the range along those lines, and we do a lot of business overseas with it as well as local.
Yeah, well, 4-wheel drivers are using stuff to come out here, experience these great places. Inevitably, they're going to get stuck. It doesn't matter what sort of a car you got, what sort of suspension you got, you're going to get stuck somewhere. So you've got to have the right recovery gear to get you out of trouble.
Yeah, look, that's exactly right, and you know, we test our products, as you know, to the nth degree, and every batch we take some product out of them, and we take them down to the testing laboratory and make sure that they're made to our standard, so the quality of the product is second to none.
Yeah, there's no doubt there. The Tough Dog name is strong, it's well respected in the industry, so I expect the same with the recovery gear products.
Well, that's exactly right, and we wouldn't have it any other way.
Well, it's looking like a pretty dry argument out here now. I reckon it's about time we walk across the road to the Tilpa pub.
It might be time. Would you look at that? Tough Dog making tracks across the world, eh? Been here before.
We had a great night in the pub at Tilpa, but once again we're heading back into Wilcannia, hitting the highway into Broken Hill and out to Silverton.
This is Mercedes-Benz SClass, all new to Australia. It's based on the Nissan Navara, but don't just think it's a Nissan Navara with a Mercedes-Benz badge on it, because the Benz engineers pulled this thing completely apart and put it back together again. A lot of work on the chassis. Powertrain's pretty well Nissan, but with the chassis they've strengthened it, new suspension back and front, wider body, lots of different equipment. I mean, the interior is completely different, and it drives quite differently from the Navara. I mean, the two are really chalk and cheese, even though the starting points are similar.
I think Mercedes Could have done a bit more work on the suspension to suit local Australian conditions. It gets a bit floaty and feels a bit undersprung on bumpy roads. And we don't have a hell of a load in the back, you know. We're only carrying maybe a fridge and a couple of swags in these utes, so it's not a lot of weight, but it feels like it's not doing too well in these conditions.
It's a good thing. It's for a first time entry. It's obviously adapted from another vehicle, but it goes really well. It's quite refined, drives nice. The driveline's a little bit lacking in performance, but yeah, goes all right.
Mercedes-Benz have done a really good job to change the character of it, and you drive the two back to back, and there's some elements where you think, yes, it does feel like the Navara, but in terms of refinement, quietness, ride, it feels a lot more solid too than the Navara. So, you know, Mercedes have done a good job with it, but to tell the truth, the starting point wasn't great.
The driver refinement is really noticeable, so the steering's very well connected, the interior is very quiet. I know it's coming from a donor vehicle of the Navara, so it's a lot quieter inside. Suspension's still a bit harsh off-road, but on-road it's a very good highway tourer. The tyres reflect that as well, they're very on-road biased. Yeah, it's a good package. It's probably a little bit expensive. The option list is quite long, but having said that, this model in particular is probably not a bad price in comparison to other more luxury-oriented four-wheel drives, I suppose. But you've really got to think you're getting the 3-star badge and things like that, and the refinement throughout, and the sound deadening and the ride and handling have definitely been improved from the donor vehicle.
Well, the refinement in the cab, I think, is second to none. It's one of the big things about the Mercedes. It's a fairly expensive car though for what you get, and yeah, I think that's going to be a hold up on it.
One of the really strong points of modern four-wheel drives is they're really quite capable once you get them out in steep terrain. The electronic traction control systems and some of these cars with rear locking diffs get you up most of the stuff you ever want to get to. But the real leveler with modern four-wheel drives is the tyres they fit. Now, car companies want a tyre that's both comfortable, smooth, quiet, and also fuel efficient. So you get a highway tyre that's really smooth, not really suited to off-road conditions. What we got here is two double cab utes, give you the extremes of tyre choices. Here, the Ford Ranger Raptor, it's made for off-road driving. So if we have a look here, you've got a fairly aggressive all-terrain type tyre, big chunky tread. It's a light truck construction, so it's more solid in the sidewalls and stiffer. And it's got an S rating, meaning it's speed rated to more than anything you're legally allowed to do in Australia, but nothing crazy. So it's a really well suited tyre out here. You can drive in this rocky terrain with confidence, not puncturing the tyre. Come over here to the Mercedes-Benz SClass, and you've got a more highway oriented tyre. Much smoother in the tread, no aggressive sidewall on it. It's a passenger car construction, so it's lighter duty in the sidewalls, and it's rated to more than 240 kilometres an hour. So no one's ever going to drive that far. But as a consequence of that, you've got that light duty construction, really susceptible to tearing that sidewall out. So which tyre would you rather be on to come out to these great places?
Watching some of these cars, it's absolutely incredible what they're doing. I would have been surprised if just one of them could have got through here, but they're all doing it, and it's just a testament to how far the technology has come. Also, I'm amazed at just how simple the process is. Even with an idiot like me at the wheel, there's no levers and buttons to press. You just point them pretty much at what you want to drive over and it will do it no problem at all.
It's a Mahindra pickup. If you don't know, Mahindra is an Indian company. They've actually been in Australia in one form or another since about 1990, I suppose. They bought out a thing which was a CJ Jeep replica. This pickup came here in 2007 originally. This is a second generation model effectively, even though it looks much the same. New 6-speed manual gearbox replaced a 5-speed. Lots of changes to the engine to make it quieter and smoother and sort of generally more refined, and a whole new interior. And the vehicle presents a lot better than the old pickup. Very cheap. Drive away 31,990, no more to pay. This one's got a couple of options on it, bull bar and the snorkel, which makes it a bit more expensive. Probably not designed as a recreational dual cab for family use, but we'll see how it goes.
I thought it was good at the time, and I still think it's a pretty good thing at 31k drive away for a dual cab ute that's, you know, pretty well equipped. Value for money wise, the thing's phenomenal.
It's a basic, no frills, honest to goodness truck. It doesn't pretend to be anything else. It's just a nice, affordable workhorse. It's a good, capable four-wheel drive. You can throw a ton on the back of it. You can take it off road. You can do all sorts of things with it. It's not the prettiest thing in the world. It's not the most refined vehicle in the world, but it's a lot better than most people think. And I think it has surprised a few of the judges here.
I think like anything, there is a price element. If people can buy a product that's cheaper and have confidence it's going to work, they will. And Mahindra, like all of other minor brands, have that problem that they have to get the confidence up.
And the exterior in itself has not changed much. Inside's a lot better. The driving position is really good. You've got plenty of glass to see out of, good driving view when you're on the road and off the road. And it's a more engaging drive, I think, than most of the more modern four-wheel drives are. You've really got to keep hold of the wheel, watch what you're doing. The engine's telling you what it's doing anyway, because it's pretty noisy inside, but it's good fun.
But that little Mahindra goes pretty well, very well sorted. It's a tough looking ute, probably the looks of it are one of the negatives, but hey, you can buy 2.5 of those for one LandCruiser.
When we make the decision on where to take our convoy for four-wheel drive of the year testing, we try to consider what the average new car buyer is going to want to do with their cars. So we try and take in various different terrains. Now in Australia, most people like to go four-wheel drive touring, explore this wide brown country, experience the outback. So we come to places like this, LD Station in Western New South Wales. You've got a wide variety of terrain here. We've got sandy creek beds, rocky mountains, steep terrain. Really test out the vehicles, test out their tyres specifically. But earlier on in the week, we've been on some sand dunes, we've been on some outback roads that are quite high speed roads, highways, and then we started at the proving ground. So you've got that full cross section of the sort of terrain and places that the average owner is going to look for. After 5 days of travelling around the west of the state, putting the cars through their paces, we're sitting back, having a beer, judging which car's the best.
Okay guys, this is our normal debrief. We go through the cars one at a time. We look at what we like about them first and what we don't like about them. Right, what don't we like about it?
Ergonomics.
That was a nice way to turn those tyres into a positive.
To get the USB plug into where the USB outlet is, I've got to get out of the car.
I didn't even know it had one.
You wouldn't find it unless you really went digging.
I find I can't get into the back of the seat. I've got no lumbar support.
Yeah, I do think it's well appointed too. It's not cheap though.
So we're moved on to negatives now.
Yeah, quite easily.
They've had a long time to get this sort of stuff right, and to me this thing is far from right.
Once all the judges got their scores in, the results were finally revealed at the Australian Motoring Awards. "2019 is a big year for 4x4 Australian magazine as we celebrate 40 years in the industry. During that time, our editors have bought our readers road tests on every new four-wheel drive that's ever come out in that time. 2018 served up a very mixed bunch of vehicles for us as well. We took these cars out to the outback for 6 days. We lived out of them, we camped, we slept in our swags, cooked meals on the back of them. Cross country, where we had the sand dunes, rocky mountains, dusty roads, tracks that would shred the tyres on most passenger car four-wheel drives. At the end of the week, there could be only one winner, and that winner is the Ford Ranger Raptor.
Congratulations, Tony. The Ford Ranger Raptor has claimed the 4x4 of the Year title. You must be pretty proud.
Hugely proud. Like I said, this car is Australia's. A lot of Australians have gone into engineering and designing this car. The team at Broadmeadows and Lara Proving Ground, they put this car through its paces for years and years and years. I get the easy job, just having to market and sell the car, so it's fantastic.
Brilliant. Well, congratulations again.
Thanks.
It was a unanimous decision with the Raptor. It won because it doesn't try to be one car that does so many things like so many of those utes try to do. It's more focused for off-road, perfect for these outback conditions.